As you know, we are going through the Sefer Yet Zara. And I have to tell you, folks, this is just a fascinating read. And no matter what your point of view is, whether that would be a religious point of view, whether it's just seeking knowledge, getting another culture's point of view, um, and seeing how our forefathers, and don't necessarily have to be a Hebrew, for all of us have roots somewhere. And it certainly appears that no matter how far you want to push back and see what those ancient cultures were like, they all have mysticism in them, all of them. And Judaism is no exception. It's quite fascinating to me as well. As I began to expand my understanding of this race of people, that how it's helping me to identify a creator on a much, much, much deeper level. And it certainly gives me a hunger to look more into this, because the way I see it is that the more descriptive you can learn about creation, about who you individually are, why the path of life, why the difficulties in the path of life, why the deceptions in the path of life. And the only way you're going to get that, as you're going to find out, is that you have to be willing and able to learn all sides, both good and evil. Yes, I didn't say it. They did, or God did. So, as you can see, this is the book we're using. And I have to say with Ariel Kaplan is that this is just, for me, it's fascinating. It's just been, and I hope it is for you, because what I have done here is that I'm going to condense it down. So those of you who don't have the book, and frankly, maybe those that do and just don't seem to have the time, what I'm going to do is condense it down into small bites and then use graphics to help us all learn. So let's read. With 32 wondrous ways of wisdom, Yah, the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, the living God, El Shaddai, omnipotent God, extolled, dweller up above, whose habitation is eternity. His high name and holy engraved his name, covenant, drilled, created his universe in 32 mysterious paths of wisdom through three Sephiroms. The first, the Sefer, the book, which equates to writing letters. Sephor, counting, which equates to number. And then the Sephor, telling, speech, the sounds. So we're using right now, just going through this in very small bites, because each one of these verses have meaning within themselves. Now, this is the Sefer that I'm actually reading here, and it says, with 32 mystical paths of wisdom. engraved Yah, the Lord of hosts, God of Israel, the living God, King of the universe, El Shaddai, merciful, gracious, high and exalted, dwelling in eternity, whose name is holy. He is lofty and holy, and he created the universe with 3 books. Again, the Sephrim with the text, the Sefer, with numbers, the Sefer, and with communications, the Sephor. When we read in modern day vernacular, and how the brain works with this, when you're reading, let's say, a sentence, a paragraph, you will condense it. That's how you do with speed reading. And you then condense it down to the smallest amount of information that still gets the point across. So we have to understand, particularly if you're westernized, which also means you typically are going to be most likely Christian. But even if you're not, whether you're Muslim, Hindu, each has its own interpretation of symbols representing life. And in this case, this is the tree of life. Now, we're going to get more into this, but for right now, everything that we just read is connected to this. You see the crown, the kether, then you see the wisdom, the understanding, the mercy, the severity, the beauty, the victory, the splendor, the foundation, the kingdom. Let's take the first part. There are 32 paths manifesting as 10 digits, 22 letters, Hebrew alphabet, and 10 digits as the 10 sefirot. And sefirot simply mean the 10 attributes or emanations of the infinite. Now you notice I didn't say God. You're going to find out why. So again, this is the tree of life. Now we, again, and I speak from my point of view as a Christian, I only had a perception of the tree of life by the depictions that we all see, that it was a physical tree. Now, no one, whatever the fruit was really irrelevant. It appears to be more and more a metaphor as opposed to an actual event. But nevertheless, it has to be understood that, as you can see, this is a form of yoga and meditation. And here it's called the tree of perfection. And there's good reason for that. We call this occultism, Kabbalism. But what appears to me is that, and I'll just lay it out there, whether it's from a Christian perspective, a Hindu perspective, well, maybe not the Hindu so much, Muslim, Judaism. Well, Judaism, of course, they're not too fond of this, but it's a part of their heritage, that they're all connected. And we don't even have the first idea of even grasping that this is about levels of consciousness. Ooh, that's the spooky stuff. No, it's knowledge. The letters and digits are the basis for the most basic ingredients of creation. Creation, quality, quantity. It is the most simplest in concepts, the most complex of apprehending. It's amazing how something so simple can be so incredibly complex, multidimensional in its scope, and exceeding the most brilliant that have achieved levels of consciousness while still in the temporal plane. So let's look at this so we all can now have a visual. And I'm going to work with you here. So here is above, north, east, first, fire, evil, water, good, last, south, victory, west, glory, below. And this is the Creator. If you had to do a diagram and condense the Creator down into its simplest elements, this would be it. But much as we have found, as the Human Genome Project proved out, that when you think you've broken the code, all you've done is open the door to an infinite amount of new doors, all containing infinite amount of information. And that's what this is about. So, 32 paths correlate to the Torah, Genesis 1. 32 times God's name appears. Now, for the most part, if any person who has been brought up in the church or other religion, each has its own particular interpretation of God and God's name, and specifically where the creation story comes in. And as in the Bible, God is an ambiguous name. It's never defined. It's never described. It just simply is God. And therein lies the problem. Because each independent, sentient, conscious being will in fact interpret that to fit their own inner reality, their image. That's what makes a religion so difficult to follow. You can follow in broad strokes, generalities. It's when you start doing the drill down that you start finding that there's not an agreement. That is why today with Christianity, there's over 30,000 worldwide denominations. And it will continue to schism. So let me bust the first myth right here. The name that you think you know, the name that you will defend, the name that you are absolutely convinced is the right name is not the name at all. This, as you allow this image, and let me tell you, these images are magical. You will have a psychic impression. Now, whether or not you pick it up and process it is irrelevant. Listen, each of us walk through our day in our own realities, completely oblivious to the other realities around us. So this is not a stretch. Now you look at this, because what you are in fact looking is the same tree of life, just arranged in a little different geometrical shape. Shapes are images. Images are language. None of the names of God refer to the Creator. Let that soak in a minute. None of the names of God refer to the Creator. The Creator is only referred as Ansof, infinite being. So this alone dispels all the arguments of what we think we know to be the name. No one knows. I doubt if we could even, I don't think the level of consciousness that humanity is at, I agree with what I'm reading. We can't handle it. I mean, if I was able to even pronounce the name, you know what would happen? Both of us, all of us would just go, psh. I mean, we'd be freaking blown into infinity and beyond. So, like getting power from a nuclear plant, in order to make that power usable, you have to have a transformer that steps it down, so far down to where it's usable and manageable. It is the same way with the name of the infinite being. Now, again, this is just, it's going to raise your level of awareness and consciousness. That's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to say it's going to blow your mind, because that's a stupid saying. It's going to blow your mind. What the heck does that mean? Blow. Anyway, you see how you can get off on this? Words are important. All right, let's continue. The name Elohim refers to the manifestation of the delineation and definition only of the infinite. The infinite, as we're going to learn, created the Elohim as an expression of itself. Told you this gets deep. So here are the 32 mysterious paths of wisdom. Now, I'd encourage you to begin to learn the alphabet. I'm doing it. During the day and at night, I'm practicing. Because if you can build, it's like understanding Sanskrit. It can be done. You can do it. All of us can do it. It's just a matter of, do you want to do it? So now look at this Same tree of life, merely arranged again in a different configuration. This time, it has added the covenant of unity. Are you prepared to know what the covenant of unity is? Okay. We have to understand first wisdom, because the covenant of unity, when I found this out, I mean, seriously, I just sat back going, this is incredible. So let's talk about wisdom, right? 32 paths are the paths to wisdom. Wisdom is pure, undifferentiated mind, and that should be mind. It is pure thought, which is not broken, in differentiated ideas. So it is an undifferentiated mind. Its pure thought is also not broken with different ideas. Wisdom is above all division. Wisdom is simply unity. The seeker of wisdom must learn from evil. I'll let that sink in. All of us, most of us, were all warned, oh, don't do that Ouija board, don't do the tarot cards, don't do astrology, don't try to go into spiritualism, because it's dangerous, evil. Well, it's one of those yes and no. It's unknown, and typically we fear the unknown. And if you fear something, you immediately associate it as bad or evil. Then again, it's also that we have only been taught and trained and indoctrinated in one point of view. I mean, evil is the reverse of lib. So even the infinite says that if you're going to be a seeker of wisdom, you have to be strong enough. You also have to have discretion. You also have to have discretion. And before you ever start any journey, you have to take inventory of yourself. This is part of what this book is about. The discovery of yourself and being able to take that journey of the 32 paths to seek God. You know, I have so many people that when I was a very devoted practicing Christian that are very, very concerned about me. But what they do not understand, and they can't understand, it is a God spell. And it's much like you being sprayed with a skunk. That marvelous odor will not come off. And no matter where you go, people are going to know that you stink. It's the same way when you actually come out from underneath God's spell, because those people, and I'm using metaphorically, they think that we stink. Like, what have you done? What do you mean you're turning your back on your religion? How could you do that to God? Well, what they don't understand is that the sojourners that I meet, you, a lot of you who are listening to me, you're there. Yeah, I may be, listen, even when I was in the Boy Scouts, I was the rabbit. They put me at the front of the pack. I set the pace. Ask my wife. I'm still a fast walker. If you're one of these lollygaggers in an airport, don't go with me because I'm going to get there and I have a very good pace. The point is here as well. We know this journey we're on, and we realize that every one of you that I have seen, and most of you are all sincere. That's what I really enjoy about y'all, is the fact you're on the same quest. We don't deny God, just the opposite. I think we elevate God in the concept and the construct that we have been taught. And once we shatter that core illusion, we can start rebuilding it. And yeah, it's fraught with peril. Bet your ass it is. But that's also part of it. It's why we love to go to amusement parks. We love getting the crap scared out of us. Why? Because it's fun. It feels good. Releases those endorphins. And hell, we're all wanting more of that because as we're going to discover, and as I am seeing this, folks, this current reality, we created it. Now, the crazy thing is, there appears to be more of us in this than they know. And our thoughts are impacting this reality that has been created, been using us. I keep telling you this. You are an amazing individual is not enough. Consciousness is the best phrase, and you're powerful. You're so powerful. We all are powerful. Religions feed off of us financially and every other way. The evil rulers of, listen, when we know who they are, they feed off of us. And what I'm learning in this book, I know why. Let's go on. So, as we go through the Sefer, we're going to discover that this is about ascending, traveling outside the body, and always seeking to get closer to the infinite being. Now, I know it's going to sound somewhat sacrilegious, but that means arising above God. For if God was created by the infinite being, then that's a game changer. Now, we've all been taught, at least I have, and it is, again, replete through the Bible, that we have been made equal with God. I mean, that's the big thing about New Testament theology. So, if there is something above God, which again, we have evidence of that in the Bible, then that means there is a path that can be obtained to get to the infinite being. Let's continue with wisdom. Below wisdom, lower levels does the division between good and evil exist. So it's right below wisdom that the division now is set, that there is good and evil. And look at it, it exists, folks. By the statement alone, there never will be in this lower level an elimination of either good or evil. Now, it will flow back and forth, yes. The antithesis of wisdom is understanding. How about that? How could it be the opposite? Understanding is just below wisdom. Understanding is where things delineate and defined as separate. The level of wisdom, all men are included in a single world soul. This is very important. The level of wisdom, this is where the infinite dwells. All men are included in a single world soul. Meditate on that. I did this morning. Whoa. Oh, man. I apologize for the allergies. It's ragweed season. It's gotten here early. Understanding is where the soul of each individual assumes a distinct identity and is seen as a separate entity. The divine name associated with understanding is Elohim. Elohim is pearl, polarity of forces, the yin and the yang, both positive and negative. Wisdom is undifferential. Understanding divides the paths. Now, you can't get to wisdom without understanding. And I do believe it may take epochs for all of us to achieve that. The symbolism of the infinite. Wisdom is nonverbal thought. Understanding is verbalization. Wisdom and understanding are thus seen as male and female. Now get this. Abba, Father, Ima, Mother. Thus, the primary letters are called mothers. Monotheism? I don't see it. Do you? So, this for me makes sense. Intuitively, it makes sense. I'm not having to sit and rationalize it. I'm not trying to sit here and dissect it to make it fit. It just flows, does it not? Wisdom and understanding are thus seen as male and female, Abba, Father, Ima, Mother. Kind of connects the dots, doesn't it? So here we are back again to this covenant of unity. Now, I'm coaching a couple of you folks on the side, and this is what I mean by creating your spear. Alan, are you listening? The tree of life is a spear. Each of us are, in fact, spears. Remember what it said? That the infinite sees the souls, us, all as a soul of man, of a world? So that covenant of unity, keep thinking about it. All right, so the next section that we have, that we read of the stanza was this, the engraved. The Creator used the 32 paths to engrave as to create the universe and all realities and all levels of consciousness. The Creator removed material to create. Does this not fit quantum mechanics? The Creator removed material to create. The undifferential light of the infinite, which existed before the constriction, is on the level of wisdom, which is the undelineated mind. I'll be very candid with you. I'm still processing that. What is an undelineated mind? I've never met one, never seen one, never spoke to one. Unless you say prayer is speaking. But I can't apprehend that. Let's go on. Understanding is called the Lamb of Darkness. Wow. The order was first engraving, then creation. Are you seeing this mental imagery of this on a scale greater than the known universe itself? I mean, just this alone here, I think could take a lifetime fully comprehending. A lifetime isn't enough time. It just isn't. So now, when you look at this, start applying what we've been reading here. And are you seeing now? This is what I am seeing. Everywhere I look, I see new shapes. And it just continues. And what the picture is not revealing all the way, my soul is. I wonder if that's significant. Now, the next part was the engraved Yah. The first thing the infinite being created was the Elohim and its name. When read in the beginning, all references are to the infinite being, not the Elohim, Lord, God, or anything other than the infinite. Well, that would make sense to me now. Because the infinite was there before the beginning. And this ties in completely seamlessly with all the other ancient documents I'm reading. Engrave means to form a clear mental image of the name and meditate on it. I dare say, and if we were all honest with ourselves, I haven't done this yet. I mean, because the image that I have had, oh, that wouldn't have been too good to meditate on. I'm just saying. And then here is the last part to this section. You yourself can create anything. Now, I did our session, Energizing Within. And here, this has been passed down by Abram. It goes back thousands and thousands of years, supposedly. I can see, I can understand it. I mean, just exposing yourself to reading this, I mean, it opens up channels. But more importantly, you yourself can create anything. The emerald tablets, throw. Love the dude. I really hope that he exists because he'd be someone I'd love to sit down with, have some coffee or some tea with. Because in the emerald tablets, that is part of it, is creating out of the ether. And here, it's repeated again. So look at your hands right now. Seriously, stop and look at your hands. Your hand is the Genesis story. It is the story of your birth, and it's the story of your ascension. Your hand has communicated not only to you, but to the infinite, everything you have experienced. Because the infinite has imprinted itself upon you. And what if the infinite being was no more than an average sized man? Person. Think about this. All right, y'all. You ready for this one, folks? Means eternal. Yah, Yod, means wisdom. Yo means wisdom. Hey, understanding, the feminine. Wisdom cannot be grasped except when clothed in understanding. Wisdom and understanding equal the infinite. Yo, hey, fa, hey. Now let's talk about the God of Israel, because here is where it has gotten commingled. And it needs to be corrected as we go forward. The name Israel is closely associated with the 231 gates. The name is a physical people connected to the Lord of hosts, which is a special grant unto Israel alone. The word God here is Elohim. Do you see this? This is a special dispensation. It is not available to the other countries, the other races. It is and always shall be uniquely Israel's. It cannot be taken away, cannot be burned away, cannot be in any way diminished, demuted, delineated. The Elohim is, in fact, still in covenant with Israel. So think upon that. Now, let's talk about the living God. This name is associated with the essential creative forces represented by the Seraph of Yosef. You ready for this? I told you about the covenant of unity. In man, this force parallels the sex organs. There is a covenant of unity within the genitalia. And it goes much further than just the physical attributes of either the feminine or the masculine. It is attached by an unseen conduit. And whether it be activated for either pleasure or, I know this is going to sound strange, a form of dedication of worship. Don't be yelling at me. I didn't write this. But that's what it is. It's connected to the hands, as you can see. It's all connected, folks. All of it. That's why, and I'm being serious about this, most people say, oh God, at the moment they climax to orgasm. It's a form of worship to the infinite being. Think about that. King of the universe. Now, this I really dig. I can get the idea now why the infinite being put this in this. This is the mode in which God relates to the universe as a king and kingship. That's why the unseen realm, the unseen spirits that are set up here on planet Earth, yeah, there is an unseen kingdom here. Then its citizens, I believe, approach into the trillions because they are not restricted by mere gravity. They have ascended above the laws of the physical plane, and they are here. They run commerce. They have a complete infrastructure and system. Why? They learned it from the infinite being. That's why we emulate it down here. Same thing. So that crazy idea that somehow Earth is the focus of the universe life energy isn't so far-fetched, is it? I mean, there has to be a 0.000. Now, the El Shaddai. Now, in my Christian belief, and I was in, the faith-based movement, is that I was taught, again, this is why I am where I am right here now, that El Shaddai meant the multi-breasted one. We never were taught above the carnality of the concept of God. That's what religion tries to do, is elevate from the carnality of the thought, because that's all it can do. It can only represent by the consciousness, the collective consciousness of our species. Now, El Shaddai here means omnipotent, almighty. Wow. Also relates to the procreative force represented, are you ready by this? The yosod. The sexual organs that create life. Are you starting to see this? That there is an energy flow. It opens a portal. You can call it a window of a dimension. It's how we are connected to the unseen realm, the ether realm. It is the living God and the El Shaddai. And the El Shaddai is man's view of God. Now, this says I there. I held that out for a reason. That's not our physical eye. It's the eye of our soul, collectively, as a world of one soul, of man. Now you can see what Da Vinci was seeing. He got it. I mean, how this was communicated is amazing. Oh, so fascinating. All right. High and exalted. God transcends space and time and existence itself. Lofty and holy, the infinite being, which is above all concepts, religions, theologies, philosophies, dogmas. There is only one thing above wisdom, that is will. And get this, but it's not above the infinite. So think about this. How religions have taken the concept of will, right? In the Christian story, it was Adam's will, it was Satan's will. In other religions, it is will, self-will. It's powerful. I guess that's why there's such a battle for our actions, right? Good, bad, right, wrong, kind, mean, blessing, cursing. Now, with the 3 books, these are the 3 books. Well, there's another typo. That's all right. I was reading the Wall Street Journal and found many of them. All right. Define the divine emanations that form the basis of creation. Again, Sefer equals book, Sephra equals male, female. The Sefer is where we get the word cipher, which we get the word communication. Support, telling. That's what the expression of the soul is. And last and most important, the universe, the year, and the soul. It's all interconnected. Now, could each level of meditation open a new portal or ability to see into another realm? Because now you can see where this covenant of unity, it's powerful, folks. I understand now why there's such magic around sexual rituals. I don't know, maybe there is, but I'm just speculating here that the reason why it's used is that because it is at that singularity point, right? And there is something unique about it. We all have to admit that's why all of us like sex, some more than others. You have to be able to discipline. But the point is, let's not get off on the tangent. the holy temple. I mean, there's a lot to this. And I can see extensions coming out of this. So maybe now the tree of life was never a physical tree of itself. Oh, it exists, but not in the form of a vegetable, a plant. No. But as I stare at this, I could see consequences in violating this. And not just on the physical level. There are portals, obviously. The Apostle Paul wrote that there were 7 different levels to the heaven that he saw. I don't think there's 7. I don't think there's a number that can be calculated. And I often wonder now, did the mystics, the prophets, the seers, did they achieve a level of being able to see into multi-dimensions, multi-realms? Did they open up portals with their minds that allowed them to see in? I think maybe that's what Ezekiel did. I think he saw into these other realms. I know this, that as we continue to study these books, we're going to learn more. And I hope you stay with me through this book. I believe at the end of it, all of us are going to be much, much more well informed. All right, folks, be kind to one another, and be good to yourself. All right, we'll talk soon.